and welcome into Getting Help from Uncle Sam. Othni Lathram's here. You are the director of the Legal Services Agency for the state of Alabama, but also we gave you another hat. You're the construction manager for the new State House.
That's right, Jack.
And
yeah.
Well, we need to let people know, because they might say, why are you building a new State House? Can't they just stay where they're at? That building was built in 1963, and it's falling apart, has mold, and it's if you were to try to fix it up, you'd be spending more money than what you just spent.
Well, Jack, that's a great point. We really came to a head, as you might recall, during COVID times, when we really, the building was already limited, as you know, difficult to get into, hard for people with disabilities to get into and get around in. We've had a mold problem for a long time, because, of course, it was a big concrete building that was retrofitted with air conditioning. And so, we undertook a study in 2020 and looked at all the various issues in the building. We'd had some electrical fires. Of course, we mentioned the mold issues. We've had floods over the years. And the price tag just to get us up to code, get the elevators working right and the like was north of $50 million.
Wow.
Which when we got around, after the big inflation push on construction during COVID times, that number was probably closer to double than what would actually have to be spent. And of course, that wouldn't have fixed any of the structural issues. We still would have had committee rooms that were too small. We still would have had a house chamber that was too small and had two big columns in it and blocked views. It wouldn't have made it any easier for people with limited mobility to get in and get around. And so we really didn't feel like that was a good use of the taxpayers' money. So we undertook a second study to look at what our options were on how to move forward with perhaps a new building. And we're very, very fortunate that the retirement systems was willing to look at that for us and partner. And of course, as you know, they've got a long history of building buildings in Alabama, and managing buildings in Alabama.
For a green roof, it's theirs.
And you tend to get a little bit better of a deal when you're working with somebody who does that regularly than somebody like me who's building one building over the course of a lifetime.
Amen.
And so we were really fortunate. We were able to put together a good estimate. The total price tag is about $400 million. 325 of that is the new building itself, and then 75 is the new parking deck, which, as we've mentioned, will have significant parking for public visitors, demolition of the current building, and the building of green space there. Another interesting quirk is that the heating and air of the Capitol currently runs off of systems in our State House. So included in that price tag is a completely new HVAC system for the Capitol that's built into the front part of that new parking deck. And so the Capitol will get a state-of-the-art HVAC system out of the deal as well.
Is that the construction that's going on right now in the backside of the Capitol?
No, so there's some other kind of modernization and cleanup of the Capitol that's going on as well, a new paint job and the like. But kind of underground in the old tunnel space that connected the Capitol to the current State House, as well as a little bit of a mechanical space in the front of that parking deck, is a whole new HVAC system that's going in for the Capitol as well. And thankfully, again, thanks largely to the expertise of RSA, it looks like we're going to come in under that budgetary figure. So it's been a really interesting process to watch how they manage that construction, and we're very fortunate that they did it for us.
Before we let you get out of here, we need to let you know, obviously you work hand in hand with senators and representatives every day, and they're developing laws. We need to let our viewers know these are people that represent you. They work for you. And if you want to talk to them, they need to make themselves available to you. But the best time to talk to them is when they're not in session.
That's right, Jack. One of the real blessings for me, and of course I came to this, having had a different career before I worked for the legislature. And you kind of, a lot of people have a preconceived notion of what legislators are like. And I found that to be furthest from the truth, right? These are folks who really are working their hardest to represent their constituents and try to make Alabama better for the state as a whole and their constituents individually. But this is also a part-time job, right? They spend most of the year at home. Most of them have businesses or jobs or other activities back home, of course, where their families are. And that's where they really have time to talk to their constituents and get to know them. Just like anything else, a personal relationship goes a long way.
Yes.
And that personal relationship happens at home in the district, not, in the 5 minutes you might get to see them between a committee meeting and going out on the floor for a vote. So it is important to build those relationships. I find that all 140 of the legislators are try to be as accessible as is possible. Obviously, while they're juggling their professions, their part-time legislative job, and their families, but they want to know what you're thinking. They want to know how you feel about on the issues.
Sure.
And of course they want to know, they're gonna take that better from somebody that they see at home and that they interact with at home. And so that really, you're right. That really is the best way to get to know them and make sure your voice is going to be heard.
That's good. Well, listen, thank you for what you do. And remember, this is the state of Alabama. It's a wonderful state. The things we're doing is to make things better for you. And we'll be right back right after this.